Low-quality fans of a high-quality playoff team, whomever that team may be. Welcome to the series preview for the first-round matchup between the Ottawa Senators and the Toronto Maple Leafs, brought to you by a diehard Red Wings fan. Guys, this series is either going to be amazing or a complete letdown. There's no way that this is just like a 6-game, no. It's either going to be like 5 or less games or a 7-game banger, right? Right? Watch it. It's now exactly going to be the opposite. No, I really like the series. Everyone really likes the series. The Battle of Ontario. We need more of these Canadian on Canadian war crime series because they're just fun. They're just fun. Before I really get into it, remember, bracket challenge listed below. Jump in, win a free jersey. Ayo. Also, going over a couple general rules that you might have already heard in the previous videos, but I'll be very quick once again. First of all, I focus far more on the 3 months leading up to the playoffs rather than the entirety of the season. I think it gives a better snapshot of where a team is in most cases. The advanced analytics that I'm going to use are from naturalstattrick.com. Home ice means next to nothing to me outside of extreme cases like the Canes. And then the predictions at the end are, well, you'll kind of see. They're not based on all of my math and actual reflection of the series. I'm just going for funsies on those ones. But let's talk about this series, shall we? So the lead up to the playoffs, the Senators actually swept the Leafs, outscoring them 9-3 across 3 games, 3-0-0 against them this year. That doesn't mean a lot to me. We've seen a lot of that during the last decade or so, where a season series goes way better than the actual playoff series would for a certain team. The Leafs are, I don't know, there's a lot of debate here because I would call it a weaker than usual East, right? Eastern Conference. It doesn't feel like it has that same level of intensity, particularly on the back end for the wild card teams and the division. The third teams in the divisions just don't seem that crazy. The top of the conference, you probably still can see someone coming out and winning the cup, but I would say a weaker than usual East. The Leafs flew through the season. They dodged any true season-altering injuries and held on down the stretch to win the Atlantic Division. They sit 4th in the league standings, and for the first time since the COVID bubble, they're facing an opponent who is far worse than them on paper. If you're a Leafs fan, don't look up what happened in the bubble against that far weaker team, because that's not a good memory for you. No, it's not. Since February 1st, the Leafs rank 10th in 5-on-5 goals for, and maybe more importantly, 7th in 5-on-5 goals allowed. 2nd on the power play, and surprisingly 25th on the penalty kill, since they had a top 10 penalty kill up until mid-January this year. It's clear to see since the coaching change that the team has a different style, and it's much more focused on defense, which I think is a good move for them because the offensive talent is there and can break through their systems, which is still a good offensive system, but one that takes defensive responsibilities far more seriously. And in the playoffs, those defensive responsibilities tend to pay dividends. Also, it doesn't hurt when the goaltending has been brilliant this year. And I think it was a savvy pick for a lot of us early in the season to go, Stolarz, who's been a really tremendous backup for years, and Joseph Woll, that tandem actually might be really good. Well, guess what? It was. And particularly Stolarz, who ranks 1st in save percentage at .926 and 3rd in goals allowed average with 2.14 allowed per game. He's also 2nd in goals saved above expected with nearly 30, and that's over the season. If Hellebuck hadn't done what he did this year, I really think we'd be talking about Stolarz in the Vezina category, which, he's going to get votes, I'm pretty sure. The guy has been absolutely brilliant for them, and it's kind of weird to see a Leafs team with a goaltending strength, right? Not that they've always had crap goaltenders, but it's just never been a strength for them. Let's just call it that. What's particularly interesting about this Leafs team, and I guess concerning about the last few months of Leafs hockey, is the numbers under the hood. And no, I know this is a Bruins channel. I'm not just finding ways to dunk on them. I've done this with every preview where I'm going through other trends. Now, I know most people say bah humbug. Not most people. Some people say bah humbug to this kind of stuff. And trust me, I get it. But In the last 10 weeks, the Leafs have outscored their expected goals at 5-on-5 by 12. And defensively have allowed 16 fewer goals than expected, according to Natural Stat Trick. Those are massive differences. And when your team is performing at a goals for percentage of 57%, meaning the performance-wise, for every 100 goals scored on the ice, your team's getting 57. That's a very good mark in the NHL, a very good mark in the NHL. But with the expected goals for percentage of 45%, which really what goes into that is the chances created versus the chances allowed, that really slims it down, but that's basically what it's telling you, is that teams should be outscoring you by a decent margin. It means that your talent on the ice is making up for you being outplayed. That's typically what that means. Now, that might not mean much in the first round, where it looks like your talent should handle the other team fairly easily, but in the long run, it's at least a reason to raise an eyebrow. Just one little eyebrow raise. Little weird. Now, it would be disingenuous if I didn't point out that most other playoff teams have numbers that are heavily skewed away from the expected totals due to their talent. That's just kind of how that works, right? You're going to have a gap there between the expected finishing versus the actual finishing if your team is good. That's why your superstars numbers always look so crazy when you actually put up advanced analytics next to them. It's just that through these 10 weeks, the only playoff teams with an expected goals for percentage under 50% were the heavily injured Devils, the heavily injured Stars, the heavily injured Wild, and then the 8th seed Habs. And Toronto's got the lowest percentage of all of them, ranking 30th league-wide during that last 10 weeks. Raise an eyebrow. I'm not saying that it's the end of the world. Raise an eyebrow here. Little weird. We talked in the Blues-Jets preview about sustainability. If your team's hot, who cares? None of it matters. It's just a reason to say, hey, if this falls off a cliff all of a sudden, it didn't come out of nowhere. That's all I'm putting out there. For the Senators, their preview is a little quicker here. After a somewhat tumultuous start, the Ottawa Senators finished the season going 17-10-3. Good enough for 8th in the league in standings points per game. They were also the only Eastern Conference wildcard hopeful that got stronger as the season progressed until the last couple of weeks where Montreal and Columbus turned up the heat. By then, the playoffs were virtually locked for the Sens. Since February 1st, the Sens ranked 20th in goals for, 11th in goals allowed, 9th on the power play, and 24th on the penalty kill. I know that doesn't sound impressive, but it was enough to bury the half dozen teams in the East that were barely working towards 500 over that stretch. That's all it took to get locked into their playoff spot. Look, Ottawa fans should be excited. The playoffs were the goal this year, and they made it. They're playing a team in the first round that on paper is far better than them, but has historically blown those series to teams that are far worse than them, as recently as last year. So there's a lot of history there that you can go, I don't know, I'm never counting a team out against the Leafs. But the thing is, the way they've played leading into the season, the underlying numbers for the Senators are all just as, not bad as what they put out since February 1st. But if you told me that the Senators with that, 20th in offense and they were decent defensively, but their special teams weren't crazy good, particularly the penalty kill, which is bad, all of that, the underlying numbers say the same thing, the same exact thing. They're playing exactly how we're expecting them to play. And they're actually getting outscored at 5-on-5 for the most part. It is what it is, right? It's not that big of a concern here because Senators fans just get to be happy that they're back in it. And this is for momentum. And it should continue to improve. There's tons to like about their team. There's still a very young team. So I find it weird that there are so many people being like, well, you have no chance in this series. Even if that was true, that's not really the point, right? There's growth here. There's progress. The Sabres fans would be drooling to be huge underdogs in a series here. I don't know. I don't understand being all that negative about it. It's just, you made it. Great. Good work by you. The important factors of this series, the odds listed for the Leafs to win in The Athletic are 73%, and Money Puck gives them a 60% win odds, however you say that. And I think the odds are pretty spot on here. The only advantage the Senators have is I like their top 4 more than the Leafs, and I wouldn't even consider it a huge advantage. The Senators' offense is pretty pedestrian for a playoff team, and even with their defense and goaltending being on the stronger side, I wouldn't consider them elite. Not currently. Again, a lot of youth. These guys are just going to get better. If you're a Leafs fan, you expect your team to win because they should. Your power play is better. Your penalty kill is rough, so is theirs. At 5-on-5, you have more talent to roll out, although neither side has a ton of true depth. Leafs are a favorite for a reason. But if you're a Sens fan, you have a few things to hope for here. Brady Tkachuk is the Senators' best player, and he's the 4th best player in this series, maybe, unless he falls in his brother's steps and turns into a monster in the playoffs. And this is no insult to Tkachuk, right? Because he is brilliant, and he's going to just get better. And trust me, Bruins fans have been asking somehow to send 3 4th-liners to the Senators for Tkachuk for years. Tkachuk is exactly built for the playoffs. He's physical, disruptive, strong finisher, and around the net, and just a bad dude. Just a bad dude. So if this is where he comes alive and becomes, I don't know, the 2nd best player in this series, it really evens a lot of odds there. Not enough, I don't think, but still, that's what you're rooting for from the Senators side. Especially because Tkachuk technically has had a down year, which is crazy to say because it's still been a very impressive year. But there was an expectation of him kind of hitting another level this year that just hasn't happened. The intangibles are all still there. I don't know. I'm still pretty bullish on him. Will the other important factors here, will the Leafs top guns show up when it matters most? That's going to be a narrative forever. The history of the team isn't really the Leafs versus the league. It's the Leafs versus the Leafs. Whenever they need a player to step up, they've mostly just folded. And that needs to change this year, no matter the opponent. There are no easy wins in the playoffs. And probably the only other important factor I would put out here is Stolarz has never started a full playoff game. I think he has 35 minutes or something like that of actual playoff experience. Will the lights be too bright? I don't know. I never really buy into that much with goaltending because the guy's crushing it this year. So he is facing a really steady hand in Ullmark, although Ullmark has also had his issues in the playoffs. So really, you're just kind of throwing something at the wall and hoping it sticks if you're going to be like, well, Stolarz has never had any starts. Okay, well, has Ullmark learned from his? Right? My prediction, I hate it. It's Leafs in 5. I actually have the Leafs winning the cup this year, which is laughable. I get it. It's laughable. But I have Leafs in 5, but these are some damn good games. That's what I think. I think these are tightly contested, ferocious games, which, if you're a Senators fan, you go, that gives us great odds to win this series. If you're telling me these games are close, and they're relying on their guys who historically have not scored the big goal when it's necessary, Senators fans will take that all day. I still think the Leafs get it done, and they get it done rather quickly here. But there's a lot to like about the Senators team, and a lot to like about their future. Go Leafs, go. And of course, here at the end of the video, I love to give some shout outs to the fantastic high quality inspectors who help support the channel and keep this running. I super appreciate every single one of you, from the role player tier, the top line tier, and of course the all-star tier. We are going to do our shout outs for this top line tier. Thank you so much to Sean Kreider, Michael Kamara, Chris and Erica, Kevin Timperley, Quackin' Platypus, JM, Smoke Channels, Shaggy, Adam Ella, Albert Waldron, Negev79, Lola Cattingsworth, EKM Productions, Moonlighter TV, Big Bad Bruin, The Bugman, Jeff with a G, Tommy Braga, Roland22, GD Viperworks, Len Kreutz, Brock Nope, Han Slobo, Coach D, The Atomic Lizard, Bradley Johnson, Brett Arney, Pincent, and Nick Zatrullo. Thank you so much, each and every one of you. Your top line material. But now we got to move on to our all-star tier members, the absolute legends. We have Jacob Pratt, Jake Brower, Dampen, JG's 12, Mark S., Ann Hustis, Tim R., Lorenzo Wood, Penny Pasta, Levi Catalani, Boston Stringler, Bagel, Nightmare Eco, John Kirk, Joel, Stealthy Potato, Heil E. Coyote, Darren Woodbury, Abraxion, Wolf Warrior, Vinny, Adrian Winter, Tupton D. Tashi, Bruin Smash, D.A. Kingery, The Only Newts, A Tasty Snack, Dutes42, and Jeremy. Thank you all for all of the support and love that you are all giving. I appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, go Bees!